Good morning, students. I am Naren Sharma from MB International School. Today, I am going to take poem of your textbook First Flight, the very first poem entitled Dust of Snow. This poem is written by a well-known American poet, Robert Frost. Robert Frost was such a great poet that our former late Prime Minister Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru wrote the lines of his poem Stopping by Wood on a Snowy Evening in his will. The lines are: the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep. Here in this poem, Dust of Snow, the poet is just describing about a scene in which he was in a very bad or sad mood. He was just passing through a forest nearby a hemlock tree. A hemlock tree is a plant or a tree. It is poisonous in nature and it bears white color flowers. Okay, now the way a crow shook down on me. The poet was walking in a forest, and in the way he passed nearby a hemlock tree, a crow was just sitting on the branch of the tree. As it was a cold country, the tree was covered with snow. As soon as crow alighted on the branches or perched on the branch of the tree, it shook down the branches of the tree which were covered by snow. So naturally, little bit of particles of snow fell down on the head or the shoulder. It has not been specified here in this poem. So as soon as the branches moved, the snow particles just fell down on the head of the tree. Now the dust of snow which fell down from the tree was due to the movement of crow, right? And as you know, here the poet represents this crow and hemlock tree as the agent of nature, which is just trying their best to alight or to make the poet's mood quite fresh and full of joy. Now, next stanza. Now, before starting the next stanza, I want to tell you about the figure of speech that are used by the poet in this poem. Here, in the very first line, the pronunciation of the last word, crow, resembles with the sound of the word snow used in the third lines. So here, rhyming scheme is A. Similarly, in the second line, that is last word used is me. Its sound is resembling with the sound of the fourth line last word, that is tree. So here the rhyming scheme of this poem is AB. Yes, moreover this poem is written in somewhat musical tone, as the sound resembles the last word sound in the very first line resembles with the last word sound of the word used in the third line. Similarly, the last word of second line me sounds resemble with the fourth line last word tree. It's all about first stanza. Now let us take the second stanza of the poem. Has given my heart a chance of mood and saved some part of a day I had rued. Here For reason unknown, the poet spent his day in quite sad and gloomy mood. Okay, now as soon as the dust of snow particles fall down on the shoulder or the head of the poet felt somewhat happy. His mood was elated. Instead of the sadness or gloominess that he was having throughout the day, the falling down of snow particles elated his mood, and he relieved from the sadness and the gloominess that he was having throughout the day. Here, the falling down of the snow particles has given poet's heart a chance of changing his mood, that is from sadness to happiness. And the poet was absolutely glad that at least falling down of snow particles had saved some part of his day that was remaining. It might be the evening hours, and he was glad that his whole day was not wasted. At least some part of the day he saved to be held in regret. Now he was in a quite happy and jolly mood. Now these agents of nature like crow and hemlock tree, they helped in elating the mood of the poet. He was now feeling a little bit better. So in our day-to-day life, people should not for granted the agents of nature which helps us in changing our mood from sadness to happiness. That's all about this poem. Now, let me tell you about the figure of speech that is used in this second stanza of the poem. The same rhyming scheme is followed by the poet here. The last word of the first line, that is heart, is resembling with the last word of the third line, that is part. Similarly, the last word in the second line, mood, is resembling with the last word of the fourth line, rude. So this stanza is having rhyming scheme like AB, AB. Okay, now let us have, yes, now dear students, you go through the poem, and I have given these two questions as your homework. The question number one is, what is dust of snow? What does the poet say has changed his mood? How has the poet's mood changed? Okay, now the second question is, how does Frost present nature in this poem? So this is all about this poem. Now in the next lecture, we'll take the poem Fire and Ice. Okay.